All right, welcome to the Meta Performance Podcast. Another fun session. Super stoked this time. Get to talk to my good friend and legend, as it would be, Mr. Mike Buenting. How's it going?
Not too bad. Thanks for having me. Good to see you, my friend.
It's a little weird to see you without the sunglasses, actually.
I can go grab a pair if you like.
No, it's kind of. I think only to actually the only time I've seen you without sunglasses is when we're eating. And so you don't have sunglasses or a glass of wine. So like it's a little weird for me to see you this way.
Yeah, it feels weird. I even over the holidays when we were doing family pictures and it would be nighttime, I would have my sunnies on my head and have to put them on my face because I always take a picture and I have my sunnies on.
I know. So it's a little. So we're gonna take pictures of this and post them everywhere. This is Mike. He's not in you because otherwise it looks like you're in Witsack or something all the time. You always have your sunglasses and a helmet on.
Right.
So before we get started, and so that I don't screw it up because it's it's a varied past, give me your kind of quick bio and we'll dig in later of your history and then of course what you're doing now.
All right. So I'm 51 years old now. And when I rattle this off, you would think I'm 80, I suppose. I come from starting in the music business and was a musician and worked in lots of aspects of the music world for many, many years. I fished professionally for a while. I've sold real estate. I then, I was a coach and an instructor at Lifetime Fitness for a period, a while, and then kind of have morphed now into sports marketing, which is where my passion lies. I sort of, and like what I encourage people to do is to chase their dreams and their passion and don't be afraid to fail. And if they're really interested in something, just dive in and go learn it and try to do it.
I did not know you were instructor. Here I thought I was ready going, yeah. And you're like, every time I swear to God, you add a new one. You go to lifetime instructor at Lifetime. So before we dig into that, two quick things. First, for everyone there, Mike is so passionate. And when he says he wants people to go do stuff, my race season this year, we were talking about it before, is basically Mike Buenting's fault. After the onset of Crohn's, kind of going through a little, meh period, Mike, in a much nicer way, told me to get off my ass and get back to it. And so this year is kind of like nationals and worlds. And if anyone or my wife complains, it's your fault, Mike. If it's good, then, I'll take the credit. But otherwise it's your fault. But I appreciate it. It's, last year getting back on the saddle and doing the work and enjoying the work. That's a you thing. That's a you problem. So you live it, which is kind of cool. A lot of people will say stuff like that, but as one example, and I know there's others. So the speed round, are you coffee or tea?
Coffee.
All right. Are you a coffee snob?
Yes.
Okay. Favorite race ever?
Shit. Challenge Roth.
Oh yeah. That is literally, I think, the only race on my bucket list that I have not done. Like when people are like, there's stuff I'd like to do, but there's definitely, I have to go do that. I think, I have not done it.
It's amazing.
If you have a weekend away, would you go to a posh resort or rough it in the woods?
Posh resort.
And let me follow up because I kind of knew this was coming. Do you consider camping a Marriott?
What level of Marriott?
Yeah.
Fairfield Inn? Yes.
Yeah, that's what I said. So yeah, that answers my question, kind of. Okay, yeah. Favorite band ever?
Oh God, that's a tough one. Probably the Beatles.
Really? Okay.
Probably so. They're the greatest songwriters ever. I would say those four.
That's true. That's true story. I'll buy that. And then crunchy or creamy peanut butter?
Ooh, depends on what I'm using it for. I'm gonna go creamy.
Okay. That's the bulk. In my professional life on the podcast, I ask that question all the time. And 2/3, 3/4 of people are creamy. But take what you want from this bit of information. About 80% of the audience when I was in Colorado said crunchy. Yeah. So I'm like, appropriate.
If I'm putting it on toast, I would prefer crunchy, but creamy is the all-arounder because I make smoothies every day with peanut butter in them, and that I prefer creamy to go into that. So I kind of went the creamy route because I feel like it's that all-arounder. It's kind of like a road bike versus a tri bike, right? Like the
Yeah.
road bike's your all-arounder, you can really do anything on it. Where the tri bike specific crunchy peanut butter is sort of that specific kind of peanut butter.
I didn't have this on there. I mean, it's a 6 bonus question. What's your pre-race meal?
Pre-race meal typically is some sort of fish, potatoes, and a baguette.
That's at night before. What about the morning of?
The morning of would be, if I have a toaster, it would be Eggos with peanut butter and syrup. If I don't have a toaster, it's probably Uncrustables.
You and I are on the Uncrustable. I'm in the. That's like a whole nother. That's like a whole nother session. I love the Uncrustable on the go. It's funny because I only mention that because I'm the bagel peanut butter, and a banana, and everyone's like, I'm like, I don't change. It works. I don't have a
Yep,
problem with it. Like, check the box. Not one less thing to worry about.
exactly.
So I wanted to get you on because, Meta, one of the points of the podcast is to talk about different ways of being passionate about stuff and your history. So if I have this right, was your first career in the music business?
Yes, I basically started in music business when I was still in high school, like 15 years old. So, and then I just kind of rolled of coming out of high school and going straight into starting my own businesses and working in that world.
And then from there, Lifetime Fitness, because now I don't know where it goes, or fishing.
Well, after music, I would say then my professional fishing career, they kind of overlapped with each other. Uh, so fishing was a passion of mine as a kid. And then, you kind of get away from it because it's so expensive, right? When you're in your 20s and stuff. And then I eventually, like right before I got married, so late 90s, I got a boat again and I got this itch to fish again. So, Lake Minnetonka, where I live here in Minnesota, is a very, very good fishing lake. It's popular because it's 20 minutes outside of downtown Minneapolis. It's close. So I ended up getting a guide business started, and I did a lot of business travelers. So a lot of business travelers would come to town. I'd take them fishing. I would help them host entertaining their clients. That started to morph into my friendships with a lot of pro athletes. And then I got heavily involved into putting on charity fishing tournaments for like the Minnesota Wild or the Minnesota Twins or some of the Viking players, things like that. And then during this period of time, I was also traveling the country, fishing in bass tournaments from Texas, Kentucky, Missouri, wherever, doing stuff I was writing a lot during this period of time too. So I was writing for publications about fishing and being in photo shoots. And then I did some television stuff around fishing. And, that was just a big chunk of life. And then the fishing kind of ended because when, I realized my daughter wasn't going to be interested in fishing. And once she kind of got to that old enough age, and she went out in the boat a few times, but it wasn't like her thing, so then we got busy with her as she grew up to be sports. And it started to become where I just didn't have time, like I just didn't have time to be out on the water all day long. Cause I mean, in the summer in Minnesota, most of my days I would be on the water at 5 a.m. and I might not even come home till 8 p.m. I did everything from the boat all day long, just running guide trip to guide trip, maybe sit and work from the boat for a couple hours in the middle of the day. Whatever I was doing, I was just fishing, living on the lake. It was also very unhealthy. You don't eat well and you're not exercising much. So I needed to make a kind of a shift out of that. Then from fishing, then during my fishing period, this also overlaps with the start of my real estate career, which as I kind of was, I would call it retiring from the music business the first time. I was getting my real estate license and kicking off my real estate career, which became very successful real estate career. And while I was doing real estate, I was also fishing and kind of doing those. So I've always done lots of things in conjunction with each other, never just one at a time. So there's a lot of overlap. It's just a matter of sometimes I might replace music with real estate. Sometimes I got all 4, 3, whatever going, so,
But
I
then
just,
you have the marathoning in there too, right? So talk about when you decided to get, kind of really
correct.
dropping that down because you have some times that, will make some of us cry.
Yeah. So that, some of my best friends, this couple, Dave and Shannon, I met because I sold them a house when they moved here from Colorado. So Dave and Shannon were moving here for Dave's job from Colorado. I met them. And I remember during the home finding process and the whole thing, she was training for, I think it was New York City Marathon at the time, right? And she was going for this long run one day. And I said, I'll join you. I was a runner in high school. I used to be fast and good. But at this time, I'm, much heavier than I am now. And I guess I wasn't quite in the shape I thought I was. So we went for this 10-mile run. And let's put it, it was not a fast run by any means. And it humbled me because I suffered the last mile or two back and she's kicking my ass. And it was kind of my wake up call to say, I need to make some changes in my diet. I need to start exercising differently again. Because prior to that, my exercise was mostly playing basketball. So I did a lot of pickup basketball. I played ball with a lot of pro basketball players. In fact, I saw one of them at the gym today, Chris Carr, a former Timberwolves player. But anyways, it was more that type of stuff because I had drifted from running. So then I decided to sign up for the Twin Cities Marathon, I think that fall or the next year, whenever it was. And that was my first marathon. And I ran 3:53, marathon number one, right? And I was like, okay, got through it. During this period of time, Shannon's husband, Dave, like my best friend, rode bikes and came from Colorado as a road cyclist. So he reignited me into wanting to ride my bike again also, because in high school, I was really into cycling and rode a bike because my girlfriend lived 10 miles out in the country and that's how I could get out there to see her. Right. So ride my bike. And so then that kind of is how I transitioned into triathlon, is by combining my two loves of running and cycling together. And then I just started swimming to be able to survive the swim. I was,
Amen, brother.
yeah, I remember at the time I worked at Lifetime Fitness as a cycle instructor. I taught spin classes and became a running coach there. And I just remember getting in the pool the first time and, you're dog paddling and breaststroking and whatever, just to figure out to get back into this whole swimming thing. So the swim has always been sort of my weak link, and it's ebbed and flowed on how good it is. But, back to the running thing, that was, whatever, I can't remember what year that was, but then I came back and did Twin Cities the next fall and went from running 3:53 the year prior to running 3:03 the next year. And that got me a Boston qualifying time. And then I went to Boston that next April because at that time, Boston wasn't selling out so fast. So you could run a race in October and still sign up for the following April.
You could actually run the qualifying time and get in.
Exactly. So I did that. I showed up. My third marathon ever would have been Boston, April 2009, I think it was. And I ran sub 3 hours. So I don't remember 2:57 or something I probably ran that year. And that was the start of never running above 3 hours again. Everything I did was sub 3, and I just kept getting better and better. And that's when I transitioned into really becoming a marathon coach through Lifetime Fitness, which then eventually I left there and did the coaching business on my own for a few years before I just kind of shut it down. But the group was always geared around running and marathon runners mostly. And then and I would say my coaching group kind of dwindled as I shifted my focus to triathlon more, because very few of them were interested in triathlon. So I was more focused in that, where my time started going there more than just pure running. So.
And then how did you decide, or did it find you to be in the kind of sports management? Because you went from coaching, kind of where you're working with individuals, to, repping products out in the market and working on that side.
Yeah. So during my time of working at Lifetime Fitness and having my own coaching business, at Lifetime, I was our run coach lead. I was a cycle lead. I kind of morphed into our triathlon sort of program. I taught cycle classes. I was very involved with our events. So back then, Lifetime Fitness used to own the Minneapolis Triathlon. And I was very involved in going around for them to corporate clients in the area or something, giving transition clinics. I would host bike course tour rides. So I was really involved in that. And through that, I worked with a lot of different brands testing products a lot. And that's kind of how I got to know Rudy Project, right? So I got to know Rudy Project during this time, and they supported my coaching business the way I now support other coaches and their business. So I was on that side of the fence for many years, using the products and promoting it, and working through there, building relationships with people. And then when I first came into kind of the sports marketing world and working in sport, it was not through Rudy Project, but through a company called Speedhound, which I just saw Sam, the owner, and I believe he's shutting the company down at the end of the year. But it was a recovery boot and like a massage gun and products like this. And so I, because I also did a lot of work through F2C, a nutrition company, and Greg, the owner of F2C, introduced me to Sam of Speedhound, and I used to help all those brands like just do stuff as under ambassador type guy and just a high energy guy and whatever. Then Sam gave me a job there, and then through Speedhound, I put together partnerships with it started as Clash, and then or started as Challenge, like Daytona, and then became Clash. So when all the big pro racing was happening, we were putting recovery lounges together at the speedway for the pro athletes to use during their weeks of training, because there was still all the social distancing things and all the different things happening, right? And then I put together partnerships with the Hincappies for the Hincappy Grand Fondos. And so I was working for Speedhound doing that. And then I just remember, I think I was getting ready to go to Chattanooga for a Hincappy, and I got an email from my counterpart over at Rudy Project being like, hey, the person that's in my role that was, was leaving. And, and I reached out and I said, hey, I'll take that job. I didn't know, and so then we started having lots of conversations, and, it kind of led to them offering me the position. And then I landed in my role at Rudy Project 4 years ago now. As a sports marketing manager. Well, I'm the sports marketing manager now, I guess. Obviously, back then I was just a coordinator or whatever. And then as of, and then in my time at Rudy Project, and now I took over events. So I'm the events manager, and that kind of was started in 2025 when our other events person left. So, taking on several roles there, and then through me and what I do at Rudy Project, other brands will come to me, whether it's Ruvi, the cycling app, or Synergy, the wetsuit company, and ask me to do side hustle consulting work for them to build, just because of the community I've built, my reputation, I guess, in the business.
So with all of that, like the reason I really wanted to chat was like, how have you kept motivated, and how have you made those life decisions? Because I won't lie, I've been in the space I'm in professionally 30 years, and I don't know that I could pull the trigger on making a change like that. How have you kind of done that through your career, and how do you stay as motivated as you are?
Yeah, for me, I feel fortunate now because my kid's 23 and in grad school and on her own. So it's easy. It was easier for me to make some of the shifts I've made now, career wise, than when, let's say, she was, in elementary school or high school and at home. And during those years, I would say, like when she was, 5 to 18 before going to college, real estate really had to be my main driving force of income, So I did these other things to fill my soul, because my real estate was fun at first, but then it lost its like luster and passion to me. But it makes you a lot of money. So, the income's good over there and you enjoy it. But then you kind of get to a period of time where the stress level is extremely high. I think that's where I got, for me, is like, the stress level was so high in real estate, and I was just coming home exhausted and burnt out, and I just wasn't happy. And you kind of get to a point in your life where you're like, happiness and like your health and the way of life matters more than anything else. And it's really hard, and I get it, for adults, for all of us in life, to shift gears, to make drastic changes. Many of us are afraid of failure. We're afraid to go out there and like just try new things and just like see, what it's like. And I think I've never been afraid. I've just always like been one just willing to like dive in, learn, experience, try. I mean, when I was trying to get into sports marketing, I bet, I probably got rejected 100 times from people just because I was, and my wife would laugh at me, because I would read a job posting and I'd be like, yeah, I can do that. I mean, I probably had 2 of the 10 traits they asked for, right? But I still tried always, constantly, because all I knew that if somebody took 5 minutes to get on a phone with me and talk to me, I could convince them that I can do that. And so you just had to get to that point. And so I think that for people out there, they need to be willing to like just try. Like if they're interested and they're passionate about something there and they feel they can contribute to whatever that is, just do it. Go chase your happiness. Don't chase dollars.
And is that what keeps you then, you have motivation there through work, and then in sport, you've kind of moved around too a little bit from marathoning to, you know, try. And then I know this past year in particular, you've bounced up and down in distances. Um, how do you stay motivated? And then you were as positive as I've seen anyone. How do I phrase this for you, Mike? For as not planned as as your last Ironman was, for the amount of work that you put in. You were as positive as I've seen anybody, and you came out of that funk within days. Like, how do you stay motivated on that front when things go not according to plan?
Um, Motivation comes from the people. I love people and I love meeting new people and I love energy and I just want to bring our world is full of so much negative stuff constantly. And, we're old enough to remember times before social media and cell phones. So, like, back then you didn't really always know all the stuff out there, right? Nowadays, it's in our faces 24/7 and you learn about things. And I think like the older I got, I just started to like be at peace maybe. Like I used to be a pretty fiery athlete in my young days. I was extremely competitive and I would be yeah, I was very fiery. I mean, I wanted to win at all costs sort of thing. And then you just start to mature over time and I think and then the motivation becomes just being grateful to wake up every day healthy to move your body. And for me, like just moving my body and getting outdoors and breathing fresh air, whether I'm going fast or slow, long or short, whatever it is just like that's the motivation. I want to wake up every day and just experience the world. The world's such a cool place and there's all these great places. And that's what sport does for me that I love. And maybe that's part of like bring me back to when I was in music. It's just in a different capacity because in music there was a lot of travel and a lot of getting to go to new cities and meet new people and like all these different relationships you would build throughout the world. And now I'm just doing it with sport. So I feel like my life started in music with the same sort of goals and passion of just like relationship building, traveling, meeting people. And now I'm just kind of doing it on a sports side versus a musical side, so to speak. So that's really what drives me is just getting up and trying to get the best out of myself every day. And then hopefully along the way in my journey and what I do, I can inspire someone else to go do the same, to
Well,
find them.
there's at least one. Like again, I tell people like it really was kind of a little bit of karma. I don't even remember how the hell we met actually. As you know, I think it was sharing that I was struggling with post Crohn's, not being as competitive, right, and not hanging out at the pointy end of the stick. Which is ironic because I'm going to now talk about going to nationals and qualifying for national and stuff, right? And so how you define that yourself is pretty interesting, right? Because in my mind, it was, you finish first or second. And if you're not going to go to nationals and be, top 5, 10, like, why would you go? And you kind of were like, dude, just be excited you're back out, like, thing. And, see you there. And I'm like, shit, now I have to go. And so, I think that is a great perspective and having that community to remind you, which kind of comes back to then one of the things I want to talk about. You see so many athletes. So the ambassador programs, the athletes you're at, I mean, it is kind of mind blowing how many people show up to your little social runs at events. What do you see the traits you see in people who are both successful and happy athletes? So, because obviously you can be successful and unhappy, you can be, happy and not successful, but success, I
Right.
guess, can be defined different ways. But what do you see as the traits where people do this over a long period of time and are happy?
I think it's passion. It's the love of what you do. And I think, and it doesn't matter if we're talking sport or we're talking business, professional, whatever it is you do in life. And so I know this podcast goes to a lot of business people that maybe don't do sport. So to them, I think like you just have to have passion and love for what you want to do so that you wake up the next day. And that's where I think it had happens. Like people like in a training environment, right? Like my daughter was a collegiate athlete, so you can see how they perform if they're in the right culture, the right community. Whether how the coach is, how the other teammates are, different things like that. And I think that my role in sports marketing is just filled with amazing people that I get to meet every day. And they are out there doing things at all different levels and different types of events and things. And just seeing happy people like makes you happy, right? Like, and that's all you want to do is just like keep feeding off of each other. So, and I think that's the same in the workplace. Like if you have a good boss, if you have a good community where you guys really support each other in the workplace and you guys all believe in the product you're working for, the job you're doing, like it's easy to get up with excitement and be successful. Like you're going to be successful. I have lots of friends and I know lots of people that are in jobs they don't like, they dread to go to work. They can't wait to get 4:30 p.m. and head home for the night and check out. But it's what they do. It's how they feed their family. And I get it. Right. So they got to find their motivation of like, okay, I got to pay the mortgage. So I got to go to work. Maybe that's their motivation, but they're miserable most of the time. Right. Like I find that I can't do that. And it's even when I take any job, I have to first be a consumer of that product and love that product, or I don't care how much money you offer me. I'm not taking it, you know? So
It's interesting. I talk a lot of times about passion versus dedication and how you create dedication out of passion because there's a balance, right? Because passion is, hey, I want to get up and ride, feeling great. I'm going to,
yeah.
I love this sport. And then, dedication is, I absolutely don't want to put my butt on that saddle today. But I got to grind this out. It's
Mhm.
mental, not, obviously if you're broken, you can't do it.
Yeah.
But like,
Right.
I gotta make myself do this. Um, how do you see people balance that? Because I think, whenever you're fired up about something, it's easy, right? I think the hard mornings are the, you know, 4:30 in the morning. You're in Minnesota, I'm in New England, 4:30 in the morning, it's 10 degrees outside, you
Yeah.
got to go to the pool. Like you're like, ugh.
Yeah, and I think and I think when you think about from an athletic standpoint or just anything in life, right? If you have a goal and if you set goals and you're a person who's driven to like reach goals, and I think in goal setting it's always good. It's like we talked about my Ironman for a second. And that Ironman shifted from I don't know how many times throughout that long day. My goal kept changing,
Well,
but
it wasn't loving until the run. That's
you have to be willing to I think adapt on the fly. I think it was in Ted Lasso. He said have a mind like a goldfish or whatever one
yes.
time talking to his
Yeah.
athlete. And I love that because it's so true in life and in sport. You really kind of have to like learn to forget quickly and just move on. And I think you're right. Like this morning my alarm's going off at 6 a.m. and I know that the weather conditions here mean my run is on a treadmill. I know I need to get back to the pool, even though my training cycle right now is a marathon. I know that you can't like just take a bunch of time off from the swim. So as much as I don't really want to do the swim, I'm like, I need to because I got to stay in tune with the water a couple days a week at least, so that when I kick in triathlon training again, I'm not like at ground zero. Um, yeah, it can be a little tough, because yeah, it's cold, it's dark, it's like you're going to do that. And so you're right. That's the dedication part. I know that I'll be back in Arizona in a few weeks in the sun. I know I have this marathon looming. In that marathon, I want to prove to myself that I have a certain thing in me. And so I know like I got to go. And I love to run, but I don't love to run on a treadmill. And so it would have been very easy to not go do it. But I think those future goals are what drives you to go do it.
Yeah, I think the hardest part is like you and I've been around a while. We'll call it that. I've been around longer, so I'll make you feel young. Is we know that once you get up, you're like, I'll start it, and 95% of the time I'll end up having the workout will be fine.
Yeah,
Right. I think when people are new to it, I think that's the part that they have to have a little faith that like you just got to get started, start 100% of them. And to your point, mind like a goldfish. If you do feel like crap, quarter of the way in, like that's okay. Like, and I
yeah,
think that is the mind of a goldfish. Like, okay, I gave it a go. I got up. Consistency is king in my mind, and it's like I was consistent, and now you just go back and live to fight another day. But you've built that kind of like it's okay mode, and not get too caught up in being deflated for a period of time over one day.
for sure. And I think you got to be fluid in your training. Now, coaches won't love me for how I think and say certain things, right? And I was a coach, and I used to be lot more rigid and a lot more like Training Peak says this, go do it, kind of, like I don't care. But I think like I've spent enough time with pro athletes, and I've spent enough time with age group athletes and everybody in between, right? And myself included. And we're all driven by a goal on whatever the race day is, that you have your A race and you want to do these certain things. But at the end of the day, sometimes like there's moments where the schedule might say, oh, you're supposed to go do a specific workout. But if you're in town, Sean, and you call me and you're like, hey, I'm in town, all of a sudden I'm willing to change
Yeah.
that workout and just go ride my bike and experience time with a friend. Or if they have a specific run workout, I'll just support them and do their run workout or
Yep.
whatever if they don't want to change. But just because to me, like, I mean, I live every day like it's my last, and I have no idea how long I'm going to be here. And I want to spend every moment I can with people that I love and respect and just, want to be with. And so if that means I've got to alter the Training Peaks plan, you alter the Training Peaks plan and you just do it. And
Yeah.
that can be sport, business, whatever. I think we all have to have this element inside of us to be fluid, to just like roll with what's happening.
I think that's the one thing I'll say over 30 some, 30, is this now we're in 2026. So this will be my 38th season of triathlon is that fluidity around hanging out with people and doing that. Cause I think that has significantly changed. Cause I think back in the day, you kind of just ran with people because that's how you showed up and you're like, how do you feel? It's all perceived exertion, right? And you're like, you know, that thing, and then everyone got on their own really specific workouts. And so I think you do miss some of that time, where you're just going out with people and enjoying being out and that kind of connection piece. And, I'll argue with and without people. So sometimes you just need to go hit the trails and not worry that, or like you gravel ride, mountain bike ride, whatever it is, where the time doesn't matter. Like, you just
Yeah,
know the time's not going to translate because you're going out on the trails or you're on a weird gravel road or you're run or ride exploring, as I call it, where you're just kind
right.
of getting out and just enjoying the actual sport that's out there. So if I asked you for one tip to kind of wrap up in what you've seen from yourself or others and being happy and, longevity, is it the flexibility or is it something else that we missed around chatting that you think is just the secret to happiness in sport?
Um, I think it's just, I mean, to me, it always gets back to passion. It's just the passion, the love, the drive to, wake up and move your body, just the way moving your body makes you feel. That's why I'm a morning workout person. I know my day is going to be so much better if I can get up and do some form of exercise first thing in the morning, right? Like I need to kind of get those endorphins going, get that, blood pumping, and it just kind of sets the mood. Like when you have really early morning meetings and it delays when you might get to work out, I feel like those days can be kind of a struggle because all you're doing is thinking about when do I get to go exercise? How can I go out there and move my body? And so I think morning for me is such a key time. Like I there's 2 times a day I love sunrise and sunsets. I love them. I always try to take pictures of them if they're beautiful. But I'm such a sunrise guy. I would probably put sunrise first in most places because I love the early morning hours.
I'm with you. I will move my schedule. I mean, within the bounds of reason, even 4-ish or whatever, to make that happen and just be tired at the end of the day. Because I know, the end of the day, to your point, will kind of suck one way or the other. I'd rather have worked out and feel that, and had that kind of thing and check that box in my head,
Right.
and feel a little tired than not. And shit happens during the day too. And I think you just, for me, it's just a good fresh space to start the day whenever I can. The one thing I'll add though is, man, as we get older, I can't just bounce out of bed, dude, and hit the road. I got to have a cup of coffee. Definitely coffee.
Yeah.
A little warm up ahead of, talk, do some stuff. For me, it's, I think planning your happiness is kind of what I would do in that, is like, I time box that spot. I know
Yeah.
I get up and I'll do some work while I have my, I won't waste that time, but I'll use it. And then I'm comfortable that I have that time blocked.
Yep.
Uh, people I work with will probably hear this, but at some point, I'll time box, especially spring and fall in New England. I'll time box lunch, and because I know that, yeah, it can get out. Like, it's winter now, I'm not going out on my bike generally, but like in the spring and fall, I'll time box and work my schedule around that. And I think it's really key to realize, you didn't say it exactly that way, Mike, but it's like, it's an important part of life. You got to make it happen.
I I agree. I try to tell people all the time, everybody has at least 1 hour a day to themselves. I don't care how busy you are, what your profession is, what you do. Like it, and I think the key to happiness is to understand that and know that and block out wherever that at least 1 hour a day for you to mentally go move your body. That could be yoga, it could be whatever. It could be a hike, it could be a walk, it could be a run. But I think that, and I was just having this comment with my wife for the weekend, is the tons of commercials around this GLP-1, people taking shots to lose weight things. And I said, well, it starts with exercise and diet. Like, let's get there first in America,
Yeah.
right? Like, let's quit, going the easy way out, which is taking a shot,
I think we're going to have a lot of people who are thinner, but not healthier. Like,
Yeah.
they'll be healthier by default by not having some extra weight, but I
Yep.
don't think you'll see this where you'll see the same linearity around, fitness and size the same way. And I'm with you. I think you can be super intentional about that time.
Yeah.
And just block it out. Just like it's it's an important part
Yeah.
for your brain. The
Exactly.
rest of the day might suck. Like, that's gonna happen, but like, I've got that one happy place for me. Um, yeah.
And your weather's the same as my weather. And I found uh in the summer and fall months especially, I would also need at the end of the day to go out on my gravel bike or something for 1 hour just to detune right before dinner, right? Like, if you've had a long crazy day, I think there's that second phase of my day of moving the body exercise that I kind of need every once in a while. And that's where if you're a athlete trying to follow a plan, you need to chuck the training plan, because you can't go do a hard session. You need to just go out. I call them my mental health rides. They didn't happen all the time, but there would be days where you say, I need a mental health ride. And it's literally to just go on into the woods for an hour and ride a bike or something,
I think you just got to have that in tune with what do you need that day. So there are
Yep.
days where I just need to go tune out, and there are days that I actually like, to your point of being flexible, I might move the hard ride up a day,
Yeah.
um, because I actually want to completely tune out and focus. I know if I focus on that ride, trail running's a little bit like that for me, because I joke, if your mind wanders too much on a trail ride, you just fall on your face. Trail
Exactly.
run. So you're
Yeah.
like, it forces me to tune out. Same thing with like a hard interval. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. I can't think about work because I'm thinking about, my numbers that are staring me in the face thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but to your point, like, how do you check out and make yourself move?
Right.
This has been great, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. For everyone listening, when we post this, we'll put Mike's stuff out there. Feel free to harass him. Um, he is super motivating. You can kind of follow him and see everywhere he goes. The only demotivating part has been when you're down south, you keep posting about how warm it is, and I'm up in New England. I'm like, you got to stop that. That's not cool when you're posting. But I really appreciate it. It's such a cool story.
Cool. Well, appreciate you having me on, and it's been great. You're one of the shining stories of my life of like why I love this job, right? Like how I met you through Rudy Project. I think you were at Boston Tri Club or something probably,
I
and
was
that
then.
and I
Come
bet
on,
I
I
bet
was.
that's sort of like where we kicked things off, and that's one of these like extremely rewarding things of getting to go do events and work an expo booth or whatever I do in sports marketing is just meeting wonderful people like you and building these friendships.
People knew we shouldn't share, but like for those who know me, I'm highly introverted. Mike has me working the booths uh, in there. But to your point, it's an interesting thing. I love like I do believe that
Yeah.
product's not an ad for the product, and so it is kind of cool being in there and talking to other people. So I can totally get the jam. I couldn't do it all the time. Like I got
Yeah.
to go hide in a corner and sling code somewhere, but like I can see it, and it is cool to be out and meet people like that. So totally cool, man. I really appreciate you taking time out of your ultimately busy schedule with all your jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate it.